Well, today's our live broadcast, our first one. For about the last month, I've sat around thinking about something, and as every single day of my life, there's something that is fun to talk about, something that pisses me off, something that doesn't make sense. Uh, there's just always a conversation piece, something out there that I always want to get off my mind every single day, and so I just go home and vent about it. I thought the best way to do that now moving forward was to actually start this live show. We've got this beautiful studio here located in Northeast Oregon. Great folks working for me have set up everything so that we can sit down and live stream this to Facebook and YouTube. Nope, we're not going to send it to Instagram. I'm in Instagram jail at the moment. Evidently, I posted about guns and ammo too much. And well, I've been banned from doing live video there. So to hell with Instagram. I wouldn't be surprised if I deleted that page at some point in the future just out of spite. But, you know, these topics that come to mind, there's always something every day that makes me think about them. I obsess on them all day. So here I get to like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's the perfect time for me to rant, just to let it off my mind and open up a discussion with all of you at home out there. And what I'm doing is I've got this system set up here so I can actually see your comments as they pop up on the screen. And I want your feedback. I actually want you guys to talk to me and give me your thoughts, right? And because I'll reply to it. I'm gonna look at it, I wanna see who you are, I wanna see what your thoughts are on it, and then I'm gonna give you my response. We'll have a conversation about it, and I'll move on to the next comment and converse with everybody for a little while. It's about the best way I can spend, 20, 30, 40 minutes of my day. Honestly, it'll make me feel better when I go home at night. But like today, I was sitting there at my desk this morning doing a little bit of research, and this pops into my feed, and there's this guy. He was on my podcast once. His name's Tyler Friel. Tyler Friel is like an outdoor life writer, contributor of some kind. He shot a moose with like a 22 ARC or something, 22 Creedmoor or something. And I thought, what? And he's the guy that shot the grizzly bear with a 6.5 Creedmoor. Now, all things aside, Tyler Friel is a great shot. He's a good hunter. He's a guy that can put a bullet in a spot, no problem. The reality is that he is better than 99.9% of the rest of us out here with firearms. I mean, I'm pretty good, and I'm not good enough to want to go hunt a moose with a 22 ARC, much less a grizzly bear with a 6.5 Creedmoor. But he can put these shots like his grizzly bear. He killed it with 3 shots on a spot about that big, killed it dead within 50 yards. He was hunting at short range over bait in Alaska. He's a resident, so it's legal. And and he was like, see, you can kill a grizzly bear with a 6.5 Creedmoor, which prompted about 25 of my clients to call me and ask if they can do a grizzly bear hunt with a 6.5 Creedmoor, to which I replied, no, we actually have a sensible caliber minimum of a 300 Winchester Magnum and a 200 grain A-frame bullet, and we have that for a reason. We want to ethically kill things, but we also take into account shot placement and things that are forgivable and whatnot like that. And so that I got asked like 20 minutes after I read that article that pissed me off. I had a guy ask me, well, what's your favorite rifle caliber? And I get asked this a lot. And, but my answer every time for the last, 20 years has been 300 Winchester Magnum. And the answer to that is an easy reply. And that is, it's a very flexible caliber. You can hunt everything from parrots to polar bears with a 300 Winchester Magnum. You can get 125 grain bullets all the way up to 230 grain bullets. You can run a wide variety of ammunition, different styles of bullets, controlled expansion, rapid expansion, frangibles, full metal jackets, practice, hunting, whatever you want, you can shoot out of a 300 Winchester Magnum. And now today with suppressors and muzzle brakes, I mean, I'm kind of anti muzzle brakes. I like to preserve my hearing, but today it's so easy to get a suppressor, and it takes, 60, 70% of the recoil off if you have a good suppressor. There's no reason not to shoot a 300 Winchester Magnum if you can get such light recoil and Magnum, caliber performance. And if you live in one of the states like, Illinois, California, New York, New Jersey, Delaware, places where you can't have a suppressor, hey, I'm sorry, get a muzzle brake, lose your hearing. But for the rest of us, like I said, I mean, I've watched a 12-year-old little girl. I mean, she didn't weigh 120 pounds soaking wet, probably 100 pounds, shoot my 300 PRC with a suppressor on it. It's just overcome the recoil. Go hunt a grizzly bear with a proper caliber. In fact, I was just reading today the regulations for hunting grizzly bears in Wyoming, if they get a season, and hopefully they will, is a 27 caliber rifle, right? I mean, nowhere near as small as like a 22 ARC, or a 6.5 Creedmoor. So, just something to think about. Like my favorite 300 Winchester Magnum caliber or 300 Winchester round is 180 grain bullet. I prefer the Barnes TTSX, but I've shot Scirocco's and Accubons and the new Sierra tipped Game King. They're all great bullets. But the 180 grain Barnes TTSX bullet, I've sent a whole lot of animals to the freezer with that bullet and that caliber. Hard to beat all the way around. And so what I want to hear from all of you out there is, what's your favorite caliber for hunting North America? Not your place in North America, but if you were going to hunt all of North America, elk, mule deer, antelope, whitetail, black bears, maybe a grizzly bear, moose, what caliber would you think, or what caliber would you prefer to use? And, and I know this is the first time that John Bleasdale, Johnny B, buddy, good to hear from you. Yeah, you watched a few animals drop to the 300 Win Mag. For all of you that don't know, John was a part of the beginnings of Steve's Outdoor Adventures. He was the original camo cam editor, hunted with me. We traveled all over. Had a lot of fun over the years. In fact, we just had a great phone call the other day. Yeah, it's a great bullet, great caliber, and it's definitely been a big part of making Steve's Outdoor Adventures a very prominent brand. Put a lot of animals on the ground. So, but yeah, like I said, I want to know what caliber would you hunt with if you were going to hunt anywhere in North America? And once again, think about all 29 species of big game, and and think about something that's versatile, something that you can, like I said, hunt a whitetail with on Saturday, and a month later be maybe hunting a grizzly bear in Alaska, or a moose, in Yukon. There's a elk in Colorado. And think about this also. What distance are you hunting? Like, what's your comfortable shooting range? Like a 300 Winchester Magnum, I can shoot, a mule deer buck at 150, 200 yards, or I can tip an elk over at 700, 800 yards with it. It's got energy. It's got great ballistics all the way around. It's flexible in terms of, once again, the weight of the bullet, the velocity that it's shooting at, the trajectory, the performance of the bullet when it hits the meat. Not all bullets are created equal. I remember when I was a kid, we used to talk about going and getting a box of 180s. I don't get a box of 180s from Route 6. Well, now it's what 180 are you going to shoot? That 180 grain Accubon performs a whole lot differently than that 180 grain, Berger VLD, or the 180 grain Accubon performs a whole lot different than 180 grain Nosler ballistic tip bullet. And ballistic tip bullets, that's a totally different conversation. All of these bullets have polymer tips on them, not ballistic tips. I had somebody confuse that the other day, so I gave them a 20-minute lecture on the difference between polymer tips and ballistic tips. For the record, a ballistic tip is a bullet that Nosler makes, and it's an actual bullet itself. It's not the tip. So anyway, like I said, the 300 Winchester Magnum's been something I've had a love affair with for the better part of the last 30 years. And I couldn't imagine not having one or two or four of them in the gun safe at any given time. So, it's a caliber that gives a lot of flexibility. And in a world today where everyone wants to hunt with a 30, or a 6.5 Creedmoor, I like to say, great, great for mule deer, whitetail, antelope. There's a reason why Creedmoor rhymes with need more, because when you get into bigger size game, you shouldn't hunt with it. We get a lot of guys that show up for elk hunts with them, and it's just, look, will it get the job done? Yes, with a properly placed shot. But the other day I had a guy tell me he killed his elk at 780 yards with a 6.5 Creedmoor and shooting 147 grain ELD match bullet, a match bullet, not even designed for hunting. And he's like, dropped him right in his tracks. Well, he hit it in the neck, broke its neck. Okay, my next question for him was, what happens if that elk had taken a big step while that bullet was in flight and you hit it in the guts? What if? Because it could happen. It's not your fault. You'd be a great shot. That bullet is in flight for a second. What happens when that bullet is in flight and the animal takes a step? You can't control that. That's where you need a caliber that has some forgiveness. That's where you need to have a caliber that will create enough damage and wreak havoc on the animal so that if the bullet is in less than desirable placement, that it's going to stop that animal and let you get a second shot at it, or put enough damage on the animal so it's going to go lay down and you get a chance to recover it and get it killed. But when you poke it with a little bullet like a 6.5 Creedmoor at that distance, it doesn't have a lot of energy left at 700, 800 yards, and it's back in the guts, and it doesn't have a lot of, hydrostatic shock at that point. What are you going to recover that animal? Hey, your odds go way down. But if you had hit him with a 300 Winchester Magnum and it wrecked a whole bunch of damage, your odds of getting a follow-up shot are much, much higher. Once again, will the Creedmoor kill an elk? Yes, with ideal shot placement. With less than ideal shot placement, I'm not a big fan. Once again, that's why I like to hunt with a 300 Winchester Magnum. This last year I hunted with 7 PRC some. Another really good caliber, very accurate. It's never going to overcome the 300 Winchester Magnum, in my opinion, as far as all-around flexibility. Another question would be, if you flew into Nome, Alaska on a caribou hunt or a grizzly bear hunt, and you had a 7 PRC and the airlines lost your ammunition or your bag with your ammo, but you had your rifle, you think you're going to find a box of 7 PRC ammo up in Dead Horse? Negative, Ghost Rider. You are going to be able to find some 300 Winchester Magnum ammo in the bottom of your guide's Super Cub, probably rolling around on the floor with a little bit of rust on, but they'll still go bang. So it's a more common round. You're going to be able to find some ammo for it, and you're always going to be able to go hunting. But, once again, 7 PRC, nothing wrong with that caliber. But 300 Winchester Magnum still king. And, Caesar. Yes, Caesar, you have killed just about everything in North America with a 300 Winchester Magnum. I think you killed all your sheep with one, and I know you killed a 10-foot brown bear in Alaska with a 300 Winchester Magnum. Once again, not an ideal caliber for hunting 10-foot peninsula brown bears, but you had great shot placement, rolled him over in his bed, and he was deader than a doornail, and you're shooting a good bullet, 200 grain bullet. Had plenty of energy, of course, but once again, not an ideal bullet for, a 1,200 pound brown bear, but great shot placement. Had you not made a great shot, I know John Burroughs would have put a couple 375s in him and rolled him up good, but you're a great shot. I've seen you do it. So, fantastic all around caliber, 300 Winchester Magnum. And if anybody else puts a comment in there after the show ends, both on YouTube and Facebook, the comments are going to be wide open. You can drop them in there. I'll go back and interact with everybody and leave comments and replies and make sure that we, like I said, keep this dialogue open well after the show is over with and done. But yeah, like I said, I want to know what people think is the ultimate North American big game hunting caliber. I said, for me, it's 300 Winchester Magnum, hands down, no questions asked. And you can't say 375 because you really don't want to go whitetail hunt with a 375 H&H. And once again, I don't think you can say 6.5 Creedmoor unless you're Tyler Friel. And because you shouldn't go hunt grizzly bears and giant animals, especially the big bears in Alaska, with such a light caliber. And I still think it's a fringe. 6.5 Creedmoor, 6.5 PRC even. I've killed some elk with a 6.5 PRC, but with a 6.5 caliber guns, I feel like they're fringe for anything elk size and larger. I think 6.5, like even the 6.5 300 Weatherby that puts a 6.5 bullet out there at 3,200, 3,300 feet per second. I just think they're fringe caliber bullets and calibers for elk size and larger game. And it's just simply because you don't have that forgiveness. You don't have that margin for error when the animal takes a step, or God forbid, you wiggle a little bit, you wiggle a little bit at the barrel, and at 400 yards, you're hitting them in the guts. Good shot placement's everything. Yeah, you can definitely kill an elk with a 6.5 Creedmoor. But what happens when you don't make a good shot? The animals deserve better than that. And that's why I think we need to hunt with calibers that are more commensurate to the size of the game that we're hunting. And once again, in today's world where we have suppressors that take all that recoil off, where we have muzzle brakes that take all that recoil off, why not hunt with a 300 Winchester Magnum? Why not hunt with a 7 PRC or a 300 PRC? Why not hunt with that larger caliber that's going to have far more energy and get the job done much cleaner? If you can shoot it accurately, I tell everybody, hunt with the largest caliber you can, shoot accurately and competently with, because, the animals deserve that from us. They deserve a quick, clean, ethical death. And that's one of the most important things to me. So, like I said, it's just something that was on my mind today when I saw that article, or that posting on social media from Tyler Friel talking about like moose hunting with a 22 ARC. And I thought, what the things like that drive me nuts. And once again, it's not a knock on Tyler as a hunter. Tyler will kill everything on the planet with a 22 ARC. He's a phenomenal shot. He's a great hunter. But Tyler, you're encouraging people who don't have your shooting ability or your hunting ability to go out and try this. I'm afraid that the animals are going to end up paying the price in the end. And there's a reason why states like Oregon I think on elk has a 24 caliber minimum, right? 243 minimum, because they don't want us elk hunting with 22 ARC. much less go and moose hunting in Alaska with one. So I want everybody to think about that. Think about your caliber choice. Oh, wait a minute, we got another here. Oh yeah, 300 Weatherby. Yeah, it's great 30 caliber round. Once again, it's just a super fast 300 Magnum gun. Shoot 180 grain bullet. Plenty awesome. I mean, 300 Weatherby, nothing wrong with that. I'm not a massive Weatherby fan, but that's probably because I'm sponsored by Bergara and I love those guns. But once again, you shoot a 300 Weatherby with a 180 grain bullet at 3,050, 3,100 feet per second. Man, that's a screamer. That's a ton of energy. That'll get the job done. And Martin, if you shoot that rifle and you're competent with it and you're accurate with it, and it's an extension of your arm and you're accurate, man, there's nothing wrong with shooting that 300 Weatherby all day long, man. I'm down with you on that one, brother. So, yeah, yeah. And let's go back to that 6.5 comment for a minute. Once again, if you're hunting antelope or whitetail deer and you're hunting with a 6.5 caliber gun, like 6.5 Creedmoor, think about the bullet that you're shooting. Now, the bullet that kind of got famous with these 6.5 calibers is the 143 grain Hornady ELDX bullet. Now, I don't know if anybody else is paying attention to what's happening with that bullet over the last decade, but especially the last few years. We're seeing the jacket separate from the cores a lot. Look, we own Pendleton Ammunition. We shoot gel blocks. We've shot a lot of animals. The jackets are separating from the cores. I don't know what's going on there. I don't like the construction of the ELDX bullet in the 6.5, Creedmoor, or in the 6.5 caliber bullet, that 143 grain bullet. I had a friend of mine today. In fact, it was Caesar. You and I were talking on the phone. He shot an animal, red hartebeest, I think he said, in Africa, with a 200 grain ELDX bullet. And once again, the jacket separated from the core. A good controlled expansion bullet shouldn't have that happen. Like an AccuBond, you would think that wouldn't happen with. I really like those like Swift Scirocco's. Like in the 6.5 Creedmoor, I think that a lot of people have tried to go in super heavy bullets. Like I like in the heavier bullets, I like that 145 grain Sierra tipped Game King bullet. Think about the construction of the bullet that you're shooting. I would love to see a lot of people gravitate away from the 143 grain ELDX, drop down a bullet weight, get into those 130 grain Swift Scirocco's, Sierra tipped Game Kings, bullets like that, 130 grain Nosler AccuBond, pick up some more velocity, generate some more energy. Those bullets are better constructed than the ELDX, and you're going to get a lot better performance out of them. 127 grain Barnes LRX, and that's a hammer. These bullets are designed to wreak havoc. I've got a few clients who have 6.5 PRC set up that are shooting 124 grain all copper hammer hunter bullets at like 3,150 feet per second out of their 6.5 PRCs, and they're killing elk deader in a doornail with them. Now, great. I'm not a big 6.5 fan for elk, but that bullet's going out fast and flat, and with proper shot placement, they're killing these elk deader in a doornail. So look at going a little bit lighter in bullet in your 6.5s, pick up a whole bunch more energy and speed, be flatter shooting. I think you're going to like your performance a lot better, and you're not going to end up with these poorly made bullets that are coming apart. And once again, when your jacket separates from your core, you're not going to get great terminal performance. You want to have a bullet that stays together and performs properly, gets maximum terminal performance. And that's what that Scirocco, TGK, the Barnes, the Hammer Hunter, those are bullets that are designed to hold a good part, if not all of their weight when they make entry and create a big wound channel. So, what was that? 156 grain Oryx. That's actually a great comic. So we just shot this the other day because that's a bullet that's made by Norma. And Norma came out with the Alaska a couple, 3 or 4 years ago, and we shot it. We liked it. Great short range, like white-tailed deer bullet. If you're hunting in the hardwoods where most of your shots are, let's say 20 to 100 yards, great bullet for the 6.5 shooters. But they discontinued the Alaska. So we started shooting the Oryx bullets, and the testing on it was really good. You're going out of a 6.5 Creedmoor at like 2,550 to 2,600 feet per second. Great mushrooming bullet. Once again, deer size game like the whitetail deer in the heavy hardwoods. Great bullet. I'm not a big advocate of that bullet, the Oryx, for going out, let's say, into the wide open where you might have to shoot 300, 400, 500 yards for a whitetail, a mule deer, an antelope. I think those other lighter weight bullets are better suited for that. But if you're whitetail hunting back in the hardwoods or in areas where you're maybe gonna have a shot under 100, 150 yards, I think that bullet will perform flawlessly. Yeah. So the Norma Oryx, 156 grain Norma Oryx is a great choice, Martin. I definitely agree with you in that respect. I'm definitely a fan in that area, and I know that's something that we offer at Pendleton Ammo for a reason, because there's guys that want that good hard hitting short range bullet. So, well, I've probably rambled on enough for tonight. You guys are going to love tomorrow night's conversation piece. I'm organizing a little bit of information on this right now. I want to make sure that I've got some pretty strong facts, but it's game on right now. I think we have a chance right now with this current administration to change a stupid law. And I mean, this is something that needs to change at the national level. I'm going to talk to you guys tomorrow night about a law that 90% of the people out there think it's a global law. And the reality is that it's just a law that affects Americans. We're the only ones in the world that are impacted by this, and it's our own government that has put a restriction on us as hunters, and it's BS. And I've put together a lot of facts, and I think right now with this current administration, we've got a chance to change this law. I need to present some facts. I may do a television episode on this. I was just talking to some of our sponsors about this earlier today. We need to make a television show about a 2-hour special on it and bring the facts and combat ridiculous anti-hunting rhetoric at the government level and get a stupid law changed. And I'm going to talk about that tomorrow when I sit down right here in my studio. For all of you out there that are watching this, if you're watching on YouTube, please make sure that you subscribe to our channel. Give us a like and a subscribe. That way you don't miss any of the live feeds and whatnot. And you see this in your, pop up every time we come in studio. And if you're watching on Facebook, please follow the page and give us a like. We'd love to make sure we reach as many people as we possibly can with my ramblings, especially like tomorrow night's message. Tomorrow night's message is going to be pretty important, and it's definitely going to open a lot of eyes. A lot of people are going to wonder why it is that this law is actually in place. It makes absolutely no sense. So we'll see you then when I